Two birds. What the hell are they doing? How did they get in here? Oh my God. That is the craziest thing. Hey folks, Chris here. Time for another quick travel vlog entry, and this one is a doozy. I am back in Utah. I have had this whirlwind trip over the past week, visiting a couple of places and traveling through some remarkable areas here in Arizona, now Utah. And to top it all off and to cap things off, I have a dead battery in the RV. I was a dork, and I got back, I'm in Kanab, because my destination was Kanab. And I got back here and I was a little bit tired. I got here in the afternoon and I came to the same place that I had parked before that worked out really well. I hadn't parked in quite the spot that I wanted to, but I was tired, so I pulled off on this side street next to a motel here. And I ended up taking a nap and walking to the store and doing some other things. And I had forgotten that I left the lights on in the RV. So when you drive through Arizona, they're always telling you to turn your daylight headlights on. And I'm still used to sort of modern cars with, you know, the chimes and stuff that tell you when you've left your lights on. And I got out of the RV and I left my lights on. So I came back this evening. I went to turn it over and it was just dead. So, and I checked the lights and the light I left the lights on for 5 or 6 hours and it just drained the battery. Fortunately, I have roadside assistance through my insurance, so I'm going to call them in the morning. And so the spot that I'm at right now is going to be just fine for the night. Let me just tell you a little bit about sort of my travels over the past week. I have been to some fascinating areas here in Arizona. So last I left you, I was in Williams, Arizona. And I have to say, I really like Williams, Arizona. So I had planned on going camping on some BLM land, sort of due west of the city. I knew of some people out there, and I wanted to go kind of do the rustic camping out on BLM land up in the forests of Arizona. And one person in particular, Beach Crickets, Shuttle Bay Beach Crickets channel, Christine, who is, by the way, super awesome, was out there. There's Shuttle Babe. Beach Crickets channel. She's awesome. And so that was super fun. I got to meet just an awesome YouTube person. I really like her channel because it's always kind of positive and interesting, and she's such a fascinating person, and she's just that way in real life. She, when I first got there, she came over and gave me a hug, and she said welcome, and so I got to spend some time with her, and it's fun to actually see somebody's rig in person when you've seen it in a video. So anyway, I'm really glad that I got to meet her. So I spent a couple of days out there, and when I initially got out there, I didn't know exactly where they were, and it turns out I had gotten fairly close, but I was maybe a half mile off. So I had pulled off into this area, a clearing that was fantastic, and I could have camped there easily. I was a little bit worried if it rained it would get muddy. Well, you're not going to believe where I found myself. I am boondocking out in the middle of Arizona. So like, look at this. I saw this. If it rains really hard, it's going to get muddy. So I'm going to have to pay attention to that. It turns out there was no rain or anything, so I would have been fine. I had fantastic internet signal and cell signal, which was great because I had some work to do. So I was actually able to get some good work done while I was out there camping in the forest. I mean, modern technology is amazing. So this is the spot that I've been parked at and camped at for the past couple of days, out here in the forests just outside of Williams. How cool is this? This is sort of my first foray into actually just really boondock. This is the craziest thing. I have a bird in my overhang. I have a bird, 2 birds. What the hell are they doing? How did they get in here? Oh, they flew in. I left my window open. Okay, bird, you're not going to like it, but I'm going to get you out. And your little friend over there. This is what happens when you come in someplace you're not supposed to be. Okay, well, I got one bird there. Goodbye, bird. And I should say, that was the other great thing about boondocking and being there in this smaller town with the field. It was quiet at night. It was dark, especially being boondocking. Let me just say, boondocking out there in the forest, I can really see why people like doing that, because at night it was just dark and so quiet. I spent a couple of days out there, and I ended up returning to Williams. Again, I really like Williams. It was cool because the elevation, there was just this constant smell of sort of pine trees in the air. I mean, you're in Arizona, but you're at a fairly high elevation. It's basically at the same level the Flagstaff is. And so the air is just always very clean, and just the smell of pine trees, and the people are nice, and the area is interesting, and it's a smaller town. So literally where I parked, I could just walk into the area there, and there was a great coffee shop there I was able to go to. Well, I'm on my way to the Grand Canyon. I'm leaving Williams. Yay. I liked Williams. Williams was fun. And the Grand Canyon is basically exactly just due north of Williams. And so it's just kind of a pleasant drive, and you drive out there, and the scenery was interesting. And I ended up getting out there and boondocking for one night before I got into the Grand Canyon, because I didn't want to make a long day trip of it. And even though it was maybe only literally like an hour away, I decided to just do another stint of boondocking. And I didn't really get any video footage of this. I just pulled off onto some BLM land just as I got into national forest space. So what you do is you just get on Google Maps and you look for like Forest Service roads, and you kind of have to sometimes zoom in to see them, but they will indicate where there are roads. So I went in and I used just an established road, and there was a little turnoff that was already pre-established there that I pulled off and stayed the night, and it was really, really pleasant. On the way down there, it turns out there was an aviation museum, and I have this fascination with aviation. And so it was like a bit of American history there. Look at this. Women pilots of World War II, the 1940s. So I spent quite a bit of time, well, actually only about an hour. It turns out my timing wasn't very good again, and it was only open for an hour by the time I got there. So I had to run through and grab a bunch of video footage, and I'm going to do a separate exploration video of that because that was fascinating. So I ended up getting into the Grand Canyon. It was kind of frustrating because as intensely amazing as the Grand Canyon is, the way that it's managed, I think, is not very good. So you pay $35 to get in there, and then by the time you get in there, frequently there's no place to park to go examine the Grand Canyon, and especially as you get in. So I got in, and there's a visitor center there that I wanted to go to, and it said the parking lot was full. And what I discovered was that the parking lots, with the exception of one place that I went to, were often very small, and people were parking all along the roads for long stretches down. And the road, there's one primary artery that goes through the Grand Canyon. I think it was on the south rim that I was on. And there's literally no easy place to park along the side of the road, but people in cars were parking at these crazy angles down along the embankment. And so the roads were not engineered to have parking along the side of the road. So there was a place that I really wanted to go examine, a viewpoint, and then a path. So I had to park the RV at a picnic spot almost 2 miles down the road, and then I walked all the way back there so I could photograph it and get some good footage, and I did. I got some great footage, but it was frustrating. People parked in just the craziest ways trying to go see the Grand Canyon, and I don't know why they've engineered it this way. Yeah, I don't get it. So I made it through the Grand Canyon, and there were basically 3 points that I stopped off at and was able to get a bunch of incredible footage of. This is what's crazy. There's this perimeter here that you can walk right up to. That is crazy. And by the time I got through, it was getting near the end of the day, and there was a tower at the end, a fairly well-known tower that was designed by a woman back in I think it was the 1920s and then built in the 1930s, and it's just this amazing viewpoint at sort of the end of the Grand Canyon point there. So I was done, I got all my photography done and explored, and just awestruck by that spectacle there. And I ended up driving to Cameron, and I was going to stay at Cameron for the night. But there was so much light left that I decided to just keep going on and driving through the Arizona desert, which is spectacular, until the sun finally ran out. And then I would just find a place to pull off onto the side of the road and park. So I went as far as I could go, and I decided not to backtrack exactly the way I came from Kanab, even though Kanab was my destination. But I decided to go up through Page, and then by Lake Powell and the Glen Canyon Dam, and then on up through southern Utah. And that's what I ended up doing today. And it was spectacular. So I got into Page, and Page is quite a bit lower elevation, so it was warmer. But when I got there, it was dark already, and I had actually pulled off to the side of the road. But then I thought, it was next to the road, it was going to be noisy, and it was going to be cars constantly passing by, that I decided to go into town. It wasn't that far away. So there was a Walmart there. So I called the Walmart, and I asked if they were RV friendly, and the woman said, absolutely. She says, come on down. We just ask that you park on sort of one side over there type of thing. When I got in there, it was packed. It was packed. And it was, again, I thought it was going to be noisy. And so in anticipation of that possibility, I had scoped out another place to park of a new hotel that had a side street, and it was just within walking distance of Walmart, but it was quiet. And so I was able to park there for just the night, and it was great. So I left this morning, drove by Glen Canyon Dam, and did some quick bit of exploring of that. And I got to tell you, Glen Canyon Dam is stunning, because there in the backdrop is Lake Powell, which you could probably spend weeks exploring everything that there is to see around there. And I spent a bit of time there, and they have a visitor center that I went into and explored. Remarkable, just absolutely stunningly, visually remarkable. So I ended up driving back into Kanab, and it was unfortunate because it was really windy today, and that just makes me nervous driving the RV on a windy day. But the Southwest can be kind of windy at times. And it turns out there's a storm that's going to be blowing through, and so there's a shifting low-level pattern which drives the winds, and it was freaking me out a little bit. But it was still stunning. Just the vistas is nothing short of really remarkable when you get into the southern Utah area. So my plan is to be here in Kanab for 3 or 4 days. The weather is going to be cooling off quite significantly, and so it's going to be pleasant. And tomorrow I have to call my insurance to get roadside assistance to jumpstart the RV, and hopefully I don't need a new battery, but that's the way things are. So I just wanted to do this quick vlog entry of my kind of intense travel over the past week or so. So thanks for watching.